Okay guys, now welcome to my first ever race breakdown. Basically what I want to do in this video is just kind of break down some thoughts and some things that I think about during a race. And of course this breakdown video here is going to cover the recent Brinkerhoff Memorial Road race I took part in. This was back on Saturday, April 15th. And here we are at the start line, just getting ready to roll off. Now we pretty much just jumped in towards the back of the pack here. As you can see, I don't know how many people were in the field. We had roughly, I think it was like, almost 50 people in this field. Now this is basically a combined field here today. We have got basically men's Cat 3-4, men's 45 plus, and the women's Cat 1-2-3s all kind of starting off here together. As you can see, we just took the start of the race, and you see the beginning of the race here is very it's very low key, and basically what I do at the start of these races, as you can see, I mean, it's a lot of breaking, going, and I try to just hang out in the back. Make sure I give myself plenty of room back here. Don't want to get caught up in some kind of a, weird early race crash. But now this is basically a neutral start, which basically what a neutral start is. It's basically when you've got a pace car who's just gonna, basically on a neutral start, nobody can pass the pace car until they, say that it's okay to start racing. And these neutral starts are always very low key, just allowing guys to, get on the bike, get, a little bit of warm up in, just kind of get used to the people they got around them. So a lot of, like I said, just a lot of on and off, going, braking. There's no need to come out of the gun here and get all antsy. Some people do that, and that's why I usually choose to hang out in the back, because some of the guys will get real anxious. Now you see that that rider in the blue kit there just did a little motion over. Basically, he was just signaling to riders behind him to get in line, that we had a car up, basically a car coming the opposite way. Now again, this is an amateur race. The roads are not closed here. It's our responsibility to ride safely. And that's why you saw that rider there motioning to riders behind him. First and foremost, the most important thing of any race is, even though these guys are your competitors out here, you still want to, make sure you're using your hand signals and calling things out ahead of you that you see, because, what goes around comes around. And if you'll help, riders behind you stay safe, when they're ahead of you, they'll help you stay safe also. Alright guys, now just jumping ahead here a few minutes in the footage. Now we're still under the neutral start here, so still nothing too intense. It's a very casual pace. We're just riding out the first mile or so under the neutral pace, and you'll see there I've got a couple of teammates up ahead of me. Got my buddies Bill and Scott in this race. And one thing that I like to do, especially in this kind of a race here, where it's a very basically a flat profile, is if I can and if I have the ability to, I will get in behind a couple of good teammates. This way, and a couple of reasons why I do that. First of all, I ride a lot with Scott and Bill. I'm very comfortable with them, being in front of me. I know kind of how they are on the bike, and I just feel it makes me feel more comfortable if I can get in behind some people that I know. Again, you can't always do this. If you're the only, if you're the only guy in your team in the race, you're going to have to feel things out. But if I have the option, which in this race I did, I will get in behind a couple of teammates. Now now the race here is pretty much just started. We are now no longer under the neutral start. We're racing, and as you can see, Bill and Scott there kind of got a good start. Now again, I'm towards the back of the field here. Again, I'm just trying to slowly get back up onto the wheel of Bill here. Bill's a very strong rider, and I know if I can hang on his wheel, I'm going to be in good shape. So again, very early in the race here. Nothing too hectic is going on yet, but just basically just trying to feel things out here early on. It's the early portion of these races are oftentimes just a feeling out process, and you want to make sure that you kind of settle into your rhythm, settle into your pace. Got Scott here in front of me. Again, I ride a ton with Scott. Very comfortable with how he rides, and I'm very comfortable being in behind him. So again, nothing really too exciting going on here. Now, road races aren't always the most exciting, and I'm jumping. Now, this is another jump ahead in footage here. Again, we're a few miles into the race here. I'm pretty much still status quo, hanging out in the back, just hanging on to the peloton here, basically waiting for something to happen in front of me. That's pretty much my strategy for road racing. Is because I'm a small guy, not the strongest guy in the world, usually I'm at the mercy of kind of the pace in front of me. And another jump in footage here. Jump ahead, we're into a fast downhill section of the course. Again, I'm still pretty much in the same position here, towards the back of the peloton, just reacting to what's in front of me. Now you see, one thing I like to do in these, and you'll see, and you may have already seen it here in the footage, but if not, I'll point it out. You'll see that I like to spend most of my time on the left-hand side of the road. And basically, the reason why I do that is, there's a couple of key reasons why I like doing that. First of all, for me, I just feel safer on the left-hand side of the road, and that is because if there's ever something in front of me that I have to respond to, it's a lot easier for me to just go left. See, like right here's a good case in point. I've got the yellow line here along my left-hand side, and this race has the yellow line rule in effect. Most of the races that we do have the yellow line effect, though the yellow line rule in effect. So basically, racers cannot go across the yellow line to advance their position. So you're never going to have to worry most of the time about anybody being at your left. Now, you still have to deal with oncoming traffic, oncoming vehicle traffic. That's just the way it is. But from a racing perspective, this gives me an out. Like, for example, if there was something to happen in front of me, I can just scoot over to the left and avoid that. Whereas if I was on the right-hand side of the road or in the middle of the road, kind of in between riders, it'd be a lot more difficult for me to avoid, some kind of traffic hazard or some kind of race hazard in front of me. So that's why I like camping out on the left-hand side of the road whenever possible. Now, I just did another jump ahead in footage. Now, at this point in the race, things are getting pretty heated, and we've actually had a split in the peloton. And at this point, I'm basically at the very back of this main peloton that established. Now, at this point, we do have a breakaway up the road. We had 4 or 5 guys kind of scoot out on us. I could see them going. At the time, I was wondering why the peloton was content to just watch them ride away from us, but whatever, it is what it is. I was at the back of the peloton, not a whole lot I could have done about it. But we do have a breakaway up the road, and at this point there is a separation in the main field. I'm up here at the very back of the pack. I haven't even had a chance to look behind me because the pace has been really turned on here the last few miles, and I wasn't sure if either Bill or Scott had breached the gap. And as you can see on the right hand side there, Bill was able to get across that gap and get back onto the main peloton himself. So me and Bill are here at the back of the main field. Again, pace is pretty strong right here. I'm having to really work hard, really just to kind of hang in here with these guys. Now, this is my first race with Cat 3 guys. I moved up to Cat 4 last year, did a couple Cat 4 races, but this is my first race with a mixed 3-4 field. So there's some strong riders in here, and I'm just still kind of feeling my way out here towards the back. Now we're getting ready to finish up a lap here, and you guys can't see this in the footage, but in this portion of the race course right here, the crosswinds were absolutely devastating us. I was basically having to fight my bike basically having to fight the bike from wanting to push me towards the yellow line. And you can see there a lot of guys, stacking up on that yellow line, trying to form an echelon there, because like I said, you can't see it in the footage, but the winds right here are absolutely brutal through here. It was a very windy race, and at times I had all I could do to keep my bike upright and not hitting people. So again, the pace is really strong right now. Again, that breakaway is still up the road. Here we did another jump in footage, and again, I'm still kind of, now at this point I've worked my way up into the pack a little bit. I'm no longer at the back of the peloton. Now you see here I'm behind a strong rider. I recognize him as a strong rider here pretty early on, and I'm just at this point just following his wheel. Again, I'm staying on that yellow line because I want to give myself the out if I need to be. Now here the guy there, he's making a very strong move, cutting through the field. I'm just basically following his wheel, catching a free ride up the road. Whenever you can get a free ride up the road, take advantage of it. Now you see there I had a guy want to go with him. A little gap separated, so I just slid in behind the blue kit guy there. Right now I'm running, I think it was third here in the main peloton at this point. Again, the tempo is full gas right now. We're riding pretty much full beans, and I'm having to work really hard just to kind of stay in these guys' draft. Now you'll see here in a few minutes the guy that's pulling. He kind of does a little elbow flick here and wants us. See, you just saw the elbow flick. He does the elbow flick, pulls over to the left. Guy in the blue, not strong enough to follow through. He opens a gap for me to follow through. I'm not strong enough to follow through, so I don't. I get back on the wheel, and that's something that I think is very important in these road races. Is a lot of times you'll have guys not so much try to egg you, into getting up front, but they'll do what they have to do and give you the elbow flick to come on by and keep the pace up. But if you aren't strong enough to go through and fill the gap, don't do it. And you see here another guy comes up. He fills the gap once the pace kind of tailed off a little bit there, and he fills up the gap. And of course, he comes by me, creates a new draft. I'm gonna jump on that guy's draft and follow suit. And my biggest point right here is just really trying to stay out the front if I can. And if you're not strong enough to go up front and take a pole, don't take a pole. I try my best to not, let guys, egg me or coerce me into getting up front there and basically burning a whole bunch of matches. Again, I'm a small guy. I'm very content hanging in the main peloton and just hanging in there. I have no desire to go up there and really force the issue. Now, again, I'm still running second here in the main peloton. We're going to be coming to a section here, an uphill section that's coming up here now. And at this point, I do kind of come around this guy, and I'm going to fill the gap here and move up to the lead position of the peloton. And at this point, the breakaway is ahead of us, but they're not. I think they had maybe 45 seconds, maybe a minute on us at this point. We were getting a few time checks from basically spectators on the road, and I don't know if you guys can see there or not, but I've got a lone rider up ahead of me, and at this point I'm gonna try to bridge up to him. It takes me a few minutes, but I am able to get up there. As you can see, you see my head there sticking into the frame up top. Now I'm basically that's because I'm trying to stay very low. I'm really tucked down low. I'm in the drops right now, trying to keep my aerodynamic profile, very good, very very aerodynamic, and I'm making progress on that rider up there, the guy that had kind of gotten off the. Now I think this guy was actually a breakaway rider who's come back to us. I'm pretty sure that we've got basically a guy here, coming back to us from the breakaway, and I'm going to try to catch him here. I apologize, guys, for that big for that Garmin. My Garmin, I know it's in the middle of the shot here, but I've actually come up with a new setup for how I'm going to run my GoPro to alleviate that in the future. So, but for this race here, it is what it is. My Garmin, I know, is kind of sticking into the way there a lot, but I'm still at the front of the peloton here, trying to chase down this lone rider, and I'm making good progress. Again, I'm just staying in his draft, trying to get as much draft off him as I can. And I see him looking back. I see he's fading a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead, scoot on by him. And at this point, I was really making a concerted effort to try to bridge up to the breakaway. I could see them. I don't think you guys can see it in the GoPro footage, but up the road, again, just kind of out of sight of the GoPro, the breakaway was up there. And at this point, I am trying to make a concerted effort to see if I can solo bridge up to that breakaway. And I'm also trying to see if we can maybe, thin out this lead pack of this main peloton a little bit, see if we can't maybe shed some dead weight. I was feeling good at this point. I'm putting in a big effort. Again, I'm back into that crosswind section. At this point, again, I'm basically having to fight my bike to keep it on the right-hand side of the road. Winds were atrocious. Now, I just cut ahead a little bit, a few minutes ahead into the race, and basically I was looking for some help here, and had another one of the riders come back up, take over the pacemaking, because I was really starting to fade a little bit there, doing so much work on the front. And at this point here, we're basically, me and this guy, we're working together. He's taking a pole. I come back up here. I take a quick pole again. I'm still trying to catch this breakaway. I can still see the breakaway up there. They've got a little bit of a lead on us, but I'm going to see if I can get up there and get to them. And again, the winds here are absolutely devastating. It's hard to see in the footage, but this was a very windy race. And we got a couple other guys here coming back to us from the break, and I think actually one of these guys, I think we're going to see like number 14 or something up here a little bit ahead of us. We got two guys that we're closing on to. One is basically a guy who got shelled off the breakaway. As that guy comes back ahead of me and takes another pole. Again, he came up to take the pacemaking over, and we're catching those two guys. Again, one is a breakaway rider who's fallen off, and the other guy, I think, is a straggler off of the Pro 1-2 field who couldn't hang on with their peloton because they started a few minutes ahead of us. And you can see there, number 14, yeah, he is in the Cat 1-2 race that has fallen off their peloton. And right there was another guy that we got in our break. I think that's another guy in our break. So yeah, we got two guys in the break who have fallen back to us. I swap back over into the lead here. Again, I'm still putting in a pretty serious dig here. We're trying to catch that breakaway, and I'm going to do everything in my power to try to help us get across. As I do another round of pacemaking, again, trying to keep myself aero. Now you'll see me there. I use the shifters a lot. I'm constantly shifting gears. I'm always trying to find a gear that puts me in the cadence I want to be in. I get down into the drops, and at this point, we have a couple other riders here from the peloton start to kind of reform back ahead of me. And at this point, I would still be willing to try to put in a dig to try to bridge to the breakaway, but as you're going to see here shortly, our move kind of ends as again I go by that rider there, take another turn off the front. Again, just basically burning a ton of matches right now. But I'm really trying to see if we can bridge up to this breakaway. I felt like we were gaining on them at times and making progress. And that's why I was putting in such a big effort to do that. As I get back to the front here, again, just trying to keep myself very aero, working the shifters, and just trying to do my best to help us get back up to the break. Again, I at this point need a little help. The rider senses that, comes back around me, gives me a little break. Now we got some other guys here filling the gap. And as you see me there, I'm basically wiping off my mouth because I'm like really putting in a lot of effort. Now that rider there in the black and red kit that just came by me, he was that's actually the guy that won our Category 4 Masters field last year at Green Mountain Stage Race. So I knew he was a strong rider. And at this point here, guys, we're maybe a mile or two later on. I just did a shift over in footage. And at this point, our effort to bridge to the breakaway had pretty much ended. and the pace really kind of got turned off a little bit. I mean, we're not going slow, but we're not, really making a real strong effort to pull back in the breakaway. And at this point, I pretty much know that any chance we had of bridging over probably gone. And at this point, I'm now just content to ride in the main pack. And now here we are. We're going to jump ahead a little bit in the footage. We are now on the last lap of the race, and basically just wanted to kind of show you guys the final few miles. Up until now, we basically had no change in what was going on. We basically, again, that breakaway up the road had established. They were going to hold on. Our main peloton had eased things off a little bit, and it was very clear that we were going to just basically pack finish. So that's where I wanted to just kind of shoot ahead here in footage a little bit and show you guys kind of how the last few miles played out. Again, at this point, I'm very confident I'm going to pack finish with the main peloton, and I'm just basically not trying to hang on, because I could hang in here, I could hang in here pretty manageably, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys the final few miles. Now again, things are really picking up here. A lot of these guys are going to try sprinting for kind of the top honors here in our peloton. I really didn't have an interest in this. Again, at this point, my only objective is to just hang on, pack finish, stay on these guys' draft, and not get dropped. And I'm just kind of camping out here in the back. As you see, Bill, my teammate Bill, he's getting up there. Bill's a very good guy in the flats, and he's going to have a little bit of a go at it here, trying to move up a little bit. You can see here we've got guys, really throwing down some big digs. This race was just full of surges, surge after surge after surge, pretty much all race long. Again, I got guys, coming up alongside me, wanting to get by me, and we're coming up into the final mile or so of the race. Again, no real change. At this point, I was actually thinking about maybe trying to get there a little bit with that little bit of an incline, but that rider there is kind of blocking me a little bit. And at this point, we're getting ready to come into the final little swooping, turn here before the finishing stretch. And again, at this point, I just don't want to crash, and just don't want to do something stupid here and risk getting injured over trying to out sprint guys who are much bigger than me and much stronger on these flats. So at this point, I'm just pretty much at the back of the main peloton, very content to just kind of come across the line with the main pack. And as you'll see here, we're in the final stretch now. I am giving it a little bit of gas here. These guys are full bore, full steam ahead. I've got a couple of guys here that are going to come by me here actually in the final few hundred meters. But again, at this point, I've made my day. I've pretty much held on to the pack, main peloton, and I'm very happy to just kind of ride along the line as we just came across the finish line. Now I pulled up my results afterwards, guys, and I finished 30th in this race. 30th. I think there was 47 starters. So we did, we did basically from me back through were people who were shelled off the main peloton, because I pretty much came in at the back of the main peloton. So there you have it, guys. Just kind of a quick recap of how my race went at the Brinkerhoff Memorial Road Race. Just kind of wanted to show you guys a little bit of the footage, some things I think about. And here, this is after the race, meeting up with Bill, and we're just getting ready to go out and basically just put a little warm, just get a little cool down in before heading back home. So, alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown, and I'll see you guys on my next race.